The Grand Blackwood Hotel, a towering monolith in the city's heart, luxurious suites, sparkling chandeliers, a history whispered in hushed tones. But beneath the opulence, a darkness lingered. Guests reported cold spots, disembodied voices, fleeting apparitions. The staff knew. Room 304 held a secret, a story untold, until now. James, a businessman on a tight schedule, arrived late. Rain lashed the hotel entrance. He brushed past the ornate doors, seeking refuge from the storm. The lobby was deserted, the air thick with the scent of damp carpets and old secrets. An unsettling silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the ticking of an antique grandfather clock. The lone receptionist, her face etched with a weariness that spoke of long nights and unsettling encounters, checked him in with a haste that bordered on panic. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of pity and fear, lingered on James for a moment too long as she handed him the key to room 304. "Don't mind the cold," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the howling wind outside. James, exhausted from his journey and dismissive of superstitious nonsense, shrugged off her warning. He took the iron key, cold and heavy in his hand, and made his way to the elevator. The old cage rattled its way up, each creak and groan seeming to echo the building's ominous history. Room 304 was opulent yet undeniably cold. A chill permeated the air, clinging to James despite the warmth of the room. He unpacked, the silence broken only by the rustling of clothes and the tapping of his shoes on the hardwood floor. Each sound seemed magnified in the stillness. He felt a presence, a coldness that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Whispers, soft and indistinct, seemed to slither from the shadows. They danced at the edge of his hearing, promising something sinister, something unknown. He dismissed them as the house settling, his logical mind refusing to entertain the possibility of the supernatural. The heavy velvet curtains seemed to breathe, stirred by an unseen hand. A shiver ran down James's spine. He felt a strange pressure, a weight on his chest, as if the very air had grown thick and oppressive. His heart pounded in his ears, a frantic rhythm against the eerie silence of the room. He caught a flicker of movement in the antique mirror above the fireplace, a fleeting glimpse of a woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes hollow and filled with an unspeakable sadness. She was gone as quickly as she appeared, leaving James staring at his own reflection, his heart pounding in his chest. James shook his head, trying to rationalize what he had seen. He was tired, stressed, his mind playing tricks on him. There was a perfectly logical explanation. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. But the image of the woman's face, etched with a sorrow that transcended time, lingered in his mind. He turned away from the mirror, his gaze drawn to the portrait above the fireplace. It depicted a beautiful woman in a long white dress, her eyes filled with a haunting melancholy. He felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The woman in the portrait. She looked familiar. He reached for the glass of water on the nightstand, his hand trembling slightly. He took a sip, the cool liquid doing little to quench his suddenly parched throat. The room felt colder now, the air thick with an oppressive presence. Section 5. The Lady in White. A chill wind swept through the room, extinguishing the gas lamps. Darkness engulfed him, thick and suffocating. He fumbled for the switch, his heart pounding in his chest. And then he saw her. Standing at the foot of the bed, bathed in the eerie glow of the moon, was the woman from the mirror. Her dress, a flowing white gown, seemed to shimmer in the darkness. Her face, pale and gaunt, was etched with an expression of profound sorrow. Her eyes, hollow and filled with an ancient pain, locked onto his. He was paralyzed with fear, his breath caught in his throat. She glided towards him, her feet not seeming to touch the ground. The air grew colder, the scent of damp earth and decay filling his nostrils. He wanted to scream, to run, but his body refused to obey. He was rooted to the spot, his gaze transfixed on the spectral figure before him. As she drew closer, he could see the details of her face more clearly. Her skin was as white as alabaster, stretched taut over her bones. Her lips were drawn back in a silent scream, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too pointed. Section 6. A Night of Terror. The woman in white reached out a hand, her touch sending a jolt of ice through his veins. He recoiled, his back hitting the wall. She leaned in close, her breath cold on his cheek, and whispered his name. Her voice, a low, mournful sigh, seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. It spoke of a pain so profound, so ancient, that it chilled him to his very core. He squeezed his eyes shut, wishing desperately for this to be nothing more than a nightmare. He felt a pressure on his chest, a weight that made it difficult to breathe. The room seemed to spin, the walls closing in on him. He was suffocating, drowning in the icy grip of terror. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound escaped his lips. The woman's face, twisted in a rictus of anger and sorrow, hovered inches from his own. Her eyes, two bottomless pits of despair, bored into his soul. He felt his sanity slipping, his grasp on reality loosening with each passing second. Section 7. Morning's Light. He woke with a gasp, the morning light streaming through the window. His clothes were damp with sweat, his body trembling. The events of the night rushed back to him, vivid and terrifying. He scrambled out of bed and stumbled to the bathroom. Splashing cold water on his face, he stared at his reflection. He looked pale, haggard, his eyes reflecting the horror he had witnessed. He packed his bags with trembling hands, his mind racing. He couldn't get out of that room fast enough. The luxurious surroundings, once alluring, now felt oppressive, suffocating. He had to escape the icy grip of room 304. He practically ran down the hallway, his suitcase bumping against his legs. He avoided eye contact with the staff, their faces etched with a knowing look that sent shivers down his spine. He had seen enough. He never wanted to step foot in the Grand Blackwood Hotel ever again. Section 8. The Legend Continues. He checked out, his voice hoarse as he mumbled an excuse. The receptionist, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and resignation, simply nodded. She had seen it all before. James left the Grand Blackwood Hotel, his steps hurried and his heart pounding. He never looked back, but the image of the woman in white, her face etched with eternal sorrow, remained seared into his memory. He carried the terror of that night with him, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the ordinary. The Grand Blackwood Hotel still stands, a monument to a bygone era. Guests come and go, drawn to its faded elegance and haunted history. But room 304 remains empty, its door forever sealed, and the legend of the woman in white continues to echo through its halls, a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed. Section 9. Room 304 remains. The stories persist. Whispers of cold spots, phantom whispers, and the ghostly apparition of a woman in white. Room 304 remains sealed, a silent testament to the darkness that haunts the Grand Blackwood Hotel. The Grand Blackwood Hotel stands as a chilling reminder that some places hold on to their secrets with an iron grip. The luxurious facade hides a darkness that whispers through the halls, a chilling testament to the tragedies that unfolded within its walls. And room 304 remains a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened.